Hello there. Those that claim they want peace and a ceasefire are intent on desecrating one of our nation's most treasured moments. They must be prevented from doing so. Pro-Palestinian protesters intend to put a halt to Remembrance Day on Saturday the 11th of November. At what point does the silent UK majority say enough is enough? According to the Express, event sites and posters are showing that organisers are preparing to ferry up to 1 million protesters about the place from several northern towns and cities into places like London to disrupt the 2-minute silence on Remembrance Day. And this year Remembrance Day falls on the day before Remembrance Sunday, which is the big remembrance event. And I have to ask, what will all those Hamas-supporting Labour MPs be doing on Saturday? Joining in with the called-for million protester march? Something that potentially interferes with the Remembrance Day silence? And then in a show of gross hypocrisy turn up at the cenotaph the following day? Or will they now re-examine their support for these people? Fat chance. I'm looking at you, Jeremy Corbyn, and your ilk. We've already had threats from some quarters of a resounding rejection of the 2-minute silence, and that it would be rejected for years to come. What does that mean? That they won't participate, or that they'll interrupt it? Colonel Richard Kemp, a decorated war veteran, said, "All that I would ask is that those who do not wish to take part do not attempt to politicise, protest or disrupt these solemn events which mean so much to so many of our people in this country, including families recently bereaved by sacrifice in war." And a Royal British Legion spokesman said, "While we respect the right of people to protest within the law, we believe the Poppy Appeal is a time for remembrance and not for political protests or public disorder, as we honour those whose service and sacrifice protects our rights and freedoms." Now you'll note that this is being done on Remembrance Day itself, but not so far, it appears, during the main Sunday event. They possibly realise they can't quite go that far yet, but maybe one day they will. Will Sadiq Khan, as the London Mayor and de facto Police and Crime Commissioner, really just let this pro-Palestine event take place and overshadow Remembrance Day? Will anyone wearing a poppy be told by the police in London to remove it in case it inflames a certain demographic? Will the police be ordered to wear the flag of Palestine and not poppies? I ask because, judging by the police reactions to events so far, they are not looking after the interests of the largest demographic. How long before Remembrance Days and Sundays are banned? How long before wearing a poppy is banned? Will veterans be told not to travel to London on Saturday the 11th? Are we expected to just stand aside and let this travesty unfold? Will we be expected to continue to tolerate these protesters chanting about a river and a sea with its obviously genocidal undertones? Will they once again be defacing the cenotaph? Sadiq Khan needs to seal that area off to the protesters and make it very publicly known that's what's happening. Or will he stand the police down? I'm getting the distinct impression that these protesters will be allowed to do pretty much as they please, and the police will make sure they don't meet anyone who may disagree with their views. All in the stupid hope that it will all eventually die down and be forgotten. Well, Jews in this country might not be forgetting. They might be getting more and more worried by the day, and I wouldn't blame them. Now, the excuse being given for this march to clash with Remembrance Day is because it is part of the formation of the State of Israel. With Dilly Hussein, deputy editor of 5 Pillars UK, writing on X, We are expected to observe 2-minute silence on Remembrance Day. The defeat of the Ottomans in World War I, the colonisation of Palestine by the British Mandate, and the 1917 Balfour Declaration is when the idea of Israel was actualised. There will be a resounding rejection of this silence this year, and for many years to come. If that's the case, then why start now? Why start today? Or is this some sort of drawing of new battle lines? Anyway, the Reclaim UK leader Lawrence Fox replied to this on X saying, "You are not expected to do anything. You are expected to be tolerant of those who do. These are the traditions of our nation and our remembrance. If you don't like them, leave." Mr. Fox has also been taking rather more direct action. He climbed on one of London's statues, the one of Boadicea in her chariot, and removed pro-Palestinian placards and flags that had been left there.
You can't leave him up there. We're going to have to call the fire brigade. You can't leave him up there. You're breaking the law leaving him up there. He's not breaking the law being up there. Hey!
Get your shit off my statues.
Well done!
And the Met was contacted to see if Lawrence Fox had committed a crime. Not that anyone seems to be asking if those who put those items there in the first place had transgressed the law in any way themselves. Well, all Fox had to say really was that he was removing litter. You know, something which is improperly discarded by members of the public in an area. So it's the expletive he used that might fall foul of the law. If he'd merely said rubbish, then as rubbish is litter, then he would possibly be right in the eyes of the law. Anyway, I wonder if the police will be conducting another raid on his premises, because the first raid doesn't seem to have deterred him much, does it? And now we hear that a supermarket chain founded by Jews has decided to pull adverts talking about Christmas due to the Palestine controversy. Now, the Marks and Spencer ad showed red, green and silver party hats being thrown into a lounge fire, and complaints were made that it looked like Palestinian flags being burned. Yeah, really. But it looks like anyone with any connections at all with Israel are going to be targeted in some way or another. Anyway, that ad being pulled might infuriate many of their customers. I feel a boycott coming on. While one Jewish author, Dov Foreman, told GB News that it was scary to be a Jew these days. At the moment we see so many on the left staying silent as anti-Semitism surges on our streets, he said. Now, isn't it strange that those calling for a ceasefire because innocent Palestinians are being killed are themselves blaming and targeting innocent Jews, all aided and abetted by the left? Foreman also said, "There are tens of thousands of people, and not everyone on these marches are calling for an intifada of violence, but many of them are. And that's the problem. Many of them are, and are not being cautioned or arrested for it. Perhaps there are just too many of them."